Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about their marketing mistakes, mishaps, and things that just didn't quite go as planned. But most importantly, we share their lessons learned with you. I'm your host, I'm Christy Mitchell. I'm a marketing strategist, and I love working with mission-driven, client-centered service providers who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business. And they know in order to take their business to the next level and have a bigger impact and grow for the future, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am so excited to welcome Susan Harper to the show. Susan is the founder of Sharper Creative, a creative studio that helps growing organizations brand boldly through strategic brand identities and ongoing creative partnerships. With 23 years of experience, Susan has built a business on long-term relationships. Her longest client has been with her since 2002. She works with businesses, nonprofits, and associations that have outgrown DIY solutions but don't need agency overhead, helping them build brand foundations and handle marketing communications for years to come. Her brand boldly philosophy is simple. Great work deserves to be seen, and you don't need agency budgets to look as credible as you are. I love that. When she's not building brands, Susan is in her studio painting watercolors. Her piece, My Sister Lisa, was published in Splash 11. She recently spent a summer painting furniture with chalk paint and is an avid gardener who dreams of launching a YouTube channel documenting her evolving woodside garden. She's also proud of the house she and her husband built, including custom windows that took 5 years, though she swears she'd never do it again. I feel like there's a lot of projects I have around the house that I could use Susan's help with. Susan lives in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, with her husband, Tim, their dog, Piper, and 2 turtles, Clover and Spencer. With that, I will welcome Susan to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me, Christy.
Thanks so much for coming on. I had so much fun reading your bio. It was such a great mix
it was longer than I
professional
thought, but yeah.
and personal. That's why I wait to bring my guests on stage until I've finished reading it so that you don't feel like you're just sitting there awkwardly while someone talks about you. It's weird.
Right,
it's weird. I've been on the receiving end. It's not fun. I let you hide out backstage while I do that part.
Yeah.
Well, I am so excited for this conversation today. I always like to give a shout out, if one is in order, to someone who introduced me to our guest. So Toby Miles, who's actually my biz bestie, gets a shout out today for introducing Susan and I. I think we met through Toby's program earlier this year.
We did. And it was a good program. I've taken some bad ones and it was a really, really good one. So learned a lot of lessons.
It was great. It was great. I tell her all the time how much I'm using all my new storytelling knowledge. So little shout out for Toby there. Yep. But today we are going to talk about your marketing journey this year. And as we were getting ready to kind of come on the air, I was saying, I'm like, usually my guests are talking about experience that happened like farther back. So I'm really excited for this conversation in terms of what your marketing journey has been like this year and how did you enter the year? What happened? Where did you go? Like, what didn't go well for you and what did you learn? But let's go back to let's go back beginning of 2025. Where were you in your marketing journey? And yeah, let's just start there.
Right. Okay. Well, leading up to 2025, I had been working on a rebrand and a website refresh. And, what started off as like just updating my website a little bit turned into like this giant rebrand. And
as it does.
As it does. Yeah. Especially when you do it for yourself. We do this for clients all the time. It's like, when you turn that lens internally on yourself, it's like, what am I, it's harder. It definitely is harder to do for yourself, I think. So beginning of 2025, it was supposed to be like, I'm going to hit the ground running with like, I'm going to get out there and do the marketing. I'm going to do all the LinkedIn. I'm going to do all the emails. I'm going to have lead magnets. I'm going to do all the things. And what happened was I was still kind of finishing the website. So that delayed me a little bit. And then then it was time to do LinkedIn. And it's like, okay, what am I going to post? What are those posts going to look like? Because I've never really done social media before. I've been working in my business for all these years, and the last couple of years been building a team. And so that I could focus on marketing. And so now I have this time, this free time to do it. And it's like I'm kind of grabbing the next shiny thing or going down the LinkedIn rabbit hole where, I'm not a coach where I need to post every day, where I'm trying to sell a course to lots of people that are going to, sign up for my course. I'm doing custom design work for people. And so I think the LinkedIn social media hole, I fell into that a bit. I took a course, and so then I took a course on doing video, to post video on LinkedIn because, people, if they know, like, and trust you, they're more likely to buy. And that was a pretty good little mini course too. But, doing videos takes a lot of time, as I'm sure you know. And so that delayed me. And then, it was really until like the fall when I finally was like, none of this is working. This is too much. I'm too stressed out. We need to dial it back and really home in on what we want to focus on, and so that I can like not lose my mind. And so just sort of taking a step back and being like, what is really going to move the needle for me, right? If I'm posting on LinkedIn a whole bunch of times and I don't have the right audience, nobody's going to see it. So it doesn't matter if I'm posting once a week, 7 times a week, nobody's going to see it if I'm not connecting with the right people. So that was sort of, it should be like marketing 101, but for some reason it didn't dawn on me right away. So there was that. And just tending to, because I come from a graphic design background, I'm not a marketer per se. I'm not a salesperson. Sometimes designing is fun, and you feel like you're doing something. And so I would maybe go down the shiny hole of the next new thing, like designing the lead magnet, but who's it going to be for,
Right,
so I really had to do some soul searching to find what really is the next step that's going to move the needle.
Well, and I think that's so interesting because I would venture to guess that a lot of business owners who are in very non-marketing businesses would be like, oh, you're a branding person, you're creative, like you got marketing, like you know what you're doing. And so I think it's really an interesting conversation to have that you, as someone with a graphic design background and you're in a marketing field, let's talk more about like what was that piece you think that you were missing in terms of I'm doing stuff, I'm putting stuff out there, but it's not getting me the result that I wanted.
Right. Well, one of the things that happened was I got into one of these commenting groups, where everybody's commenting. The same people are commenting on everybody's
pod.
A pod, I guess is what you call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realized that pretty quickly that it was great, and it helped maybe grow some things, but it's not really the ideal. None of those people were necessarily my clients. And so I just was like, how am I going to get in front of the right people? Like my business for the last 23 years really has been repeat business, referrals. It hasn't relied on marketing a lot. And so I kind of was just unsure what to do.
And I think that's totally valid, right? You're like, okay, I know that I want to move beyond just referrals. And I think LinkedIn is the place for me to go, which, makes sense, right? You're in a B2B business. And so when you decided that you wanted to do more on LinkedIn, what kind of drove that decision? Was it like other business owners in B2B spaces saying you should be there? Or what kind of made you pick LinkedIn out of all the options of how you could market yourself?
Right. Well, LinkedIn is business oriented. And I do have a lot of contacts on LinkedIn because a few years ago, I connected with a lot of people in the association world because we do event graphics as one of our specialties. And so any association that has a big in-person event. So I thought I have, 700 followers or something and connected with a lot of people. So I thought, at least those people will see what I'm posting. And then I started to follow a lot of the LinkedIn coaches who post every day and they have great advice. And I'm like, okay, well, let me follow some of those and do some of those strategies and start doing the videos so that I can put myself out there, because we do such great work, but nobody knows we're here, right? So they can't hire me if they don't know I exist. So I'm like, I just have to get myself in front of them. And I figured, Instagram is a little bit more fleeting perhaps, and I don't really have as many followers there. And LinkedIn, I thought, is probably really good for B2C. I don't know about B2B. So I just was like, I need to just do one platform really well. I can't take on them all. I can barely do one, right? Time wise.
Which, I mean, honestly, kudos to you for that, because so many people try and do all of the things and overwhelm themselves so quickly. So I think it's great that you had that insight, like, okay, I need to just choose one thing and focus on that.
Yeah. And it was still overwhelming because I was trying to do it 3 times a week when I'm struggling like with this content for once a week. So I was at some point I was like, okay, this is crazy. Just do 1 time a week. And let's figure out how we can email the people that are already on our list and try to use the same content. Try to streamline this down a little bit so that it's doable. So I ended up coming up with a system where I have the idea for the post. I post on a Wednesday, and then that content is reused in my email the following week. And so now I'm trying to email every week. So I've been doing this for maybe a month and a half now. I'm finally kind of getting on track. And so we'll see how that goes. And now it's about commenting and meeting new people on LinkedIn to just connect with them and see what they're all about.
Yeah, that was definitely something I wanted to dig into with you in terms of your experience on LinkedIn, because I know I've talked to a lot of different people who have had a similar experience where they're like, okay, I'm going to be on LinkedIn. And then they start posting and then they're like, okay, but like, I don't really know. Like, and I'm not saying this is you, but this is what I hear from others. It's like, okay, I'm doing the thing. Like I'm posting, but like, I'm not really getting engagement and I'm not really meeting people. And so like, what am I, is it something I'm doing? Like what? And a lot of times people assume if you're posting, people are going to start finding you. And I think you found out quickly that was not the case. It sounded like from something you said earlier. So I'm curious what you were doing in terms of engagement, because that's usually where I start with the clients that I work with is like, okay, you're posting, that's good, but are you actively engaging on other people's posts? Because the algorithm really favors that.
Right. I was, and then I was like, I don't think I'm commenting and engaging on the right people's pages, right? So I kind of just did a whole refresh at that point and was like, okay, what do I want to focus on? What is the first target market I want to look at connecting with? And I decided it would be nonprofits because we have a lot of nonprofit experience. We have some very current work that we're doing. So I thought, this is maybe more applicable to someone who's looking for samples. People always like to see what you've done in the industry. So what I decided to do was do direct mail. I had done direct mail back pre-COVID to the association market that I was just talking about, and that was fairly successful. And at that time,
and you mean like hard copy, like in the mail? Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to do something different than other people are doing so that I stand out. Right. So back when I was targeting associations, it was a physical packet. It was like this coloring kit for stressed out event planners, and it had gel pens and all kinds of stuff. And everything was handwritten. It was very customizable. And I got some really nice clients from that. And then, 2020 happened and nobody was going in the office, let alone getting mail. So I didn't do any direct mail for the last 5 years. So a couple of months ago, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start this again, but much, much simpler. So I put together this direct mail packet. It's a rack card and a bookmarker, and the envelopes are hand addressed. There's a little handwritten note, and it's directed to nonprofits, and I mail it in a purple envelope, and we send out 30 a week, which is the amount of time it takes to do 30. 30 is manageable. And then I have a whole email follow up. Because originally I was going to just connect with these people on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
because I was using Apollo to get to do some targeting, and found very quickly that the people were not on LinkedIn. They may have 25 connections, they weren't posting. So
Mm.
to try to connect with them, it wasn't going to work on LinkedIn. So I'm trying this, and I wanted to get this all underway before I go back to LinkedIn and start engaging with other people. So I'm at that point now. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
It's so interesting. First of all, I love that you're like, I want to do something different. And it makes sense, right? Like you're in the creative space and you're like, I want to stand out and I don't want to be like everybody else. So I love that you're trying I love that you're trying the direct mail and you have the email piece to go with it so that it's like
yes,
a two-pronged approach. I think that's so smart. And when I talk about marketing, when I teach marketing, I always talk about the marketing funnel, right? Building your funnel, and the awareness is the first step at the top of the funnel. And then you got to get people to take a step. So you have their name and email address, and you can nurture them over time and stay in touch with them and then convert them into a happy client. So I love that you're thinking in terms of like, okay, I can't just like send something out and expect that that's going to do the thing. You have this
right,
like, okay, I'm going to send the thing, and then we're going to send some emails. And then maybe go back to try and connect with them on LinkedIn. I love that you're thinking in
yeah,
that way.
yes,
Because so often business owners are like, I'm going to do this one thing and it's going to work and it's going to get me everything that I want. So I think that's very smart
yeah.
the way
And I
you're going
created
about it.
a free guide too, so that it's things that busy nonprofit executive directors, for example, can outsource without a long-term commitment. So that
Yeah.
goes in one of the emails so that they can download that as a resource, to help them think about, because maybe they don't know what they can then outsource, without signing
Hmm.
contracts and getting into long-term commitments. So
Yeah. So it sounds like this is a relatively new approach, though. So we might have to have you back on the show to
yeah.
find out, because now I'm like dying to know, like, what is going to happen? What are the results going to be?
Yeah, and because we kind of started a little bit before Thanksgiving, so you have that holiday. Now there's Christmas,
Yes.
so
Yep.
doing this kind of thing at the end of the year may not be a great idea. So the last packets are going to go out on December 10th, and then we're going to pick back up in January. So I can, that
Yeah.
the holidays will be behind people, and hopefully it'll
Right.
resonate a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
hard to compete with attention during holiday
Oh
time,
my gosh,
especially for
the
sure.
attention economy is what yeah,
Yes.
it's crazy. People are pulled in so many directions, and
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And I think that's one of the huge challenges with marketing, right? Is like, how do you show up in a way that, to your point, stands out from the noise of what everybody else is doing? And really, the way that I approach marketing with my clients is like, how do you be that problem solver for your audience? How do you show that you can solve a problem that they have? Because that's what we're going to pay attention to, right? Is like, if someone can make my life easier or take away this headache that I have, or make something better for me. Like, that's the message I'm tuning into. I'm not tuning into like, buy my product. Here's why it's so great.
Right.
So really positioning yourself as that thought leader and that expert and that problem solver, I think is so key.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
thing I want to go back to, Susan, was really your kind of like journey on LinkedIn this year, because I think that there are some like valuable lessons that we can tease out for listeners. So in terms of, you decided, okay, first of all, I think that you made a lot of good decisions, right? You're like, okay, I already have the biggest following on LinkedIn because I did a bunch of outreach and I have more people there. So
Hmm.
I think I'm going to do that instead of Instagram. So that was a good decision, for sure. And then it sounds like, maybe you went at it a little too ambitiously with how often you wanted to post, and quickly realized like, okay, I need to scale that back to make it manageable, which again is so smart, because so many business owners, especially if they're doing it themselves, just burn themselves out so quickly. So making it manageable, choosing the platform that you think is, going to be best for you based on the existing audience and the audience you're trying to reach. And then next, like coming up with a plan that is doable and realistic in terms of bandwidth, whether you're creating the content yourself or outsourcing it, right? Like, what does your budget allow? How often can someone be posting for
Hmm.
you? We already talked about the engagement piece as well, that you knew was really important. And it sounds like, maybe you were engaging with people who weren't necessarily going to turn into clients or maybe even referral partners for you. I'm actually curious about that. Did you look at LinkedIn from that perspective, as like, could I network with people who might be able to refer me business?
I did. I did that earlier when I was doing LinkedIn before. I found that, and maybe I should do more of it, but I just found that people aren't necessarily thinking about me when they're, um, how do I say this? When they're talking to somebody else and they have a need, I just don't know that I would be top of mind. Even if I offered, a 10% referral fee or some kind of referral,
Mm,
um, I just, and maybe that's just because they weren't the right people. So, um,
yeah.
it's possible. It's possible to do that,
Yeah.
but one step at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I was just thinking in terms of like how business owners who might be listening to this conversation are approaching their own LinkedIn. Are you doing it from the plan of like, okay, I want to get in touch with my ideal clients, or I want to network with people who could potentially refer me business? I actually have a
Right.
someone in my marketing support group right now who's kind of shifting gears and moving much more towards that referral partner networking and trying to build up that community on LinkedIn. So I'm really curious to see how that goes for her. But I think that's another important aspect, right, for those people listening to this conversation is who is it that you're trying to
Right.
reach with your
Absolutely.
efforts?
Yeah. And I know some people that do really well with
Mm-hmm.
partners and things. So it's absolutely advantageous if it works with your business model and product and service.
Yes. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
that's such a valid point is like it works for some businesses and it doesn't work as well for others. I will say for even for myself, I've found sometimes establishing referral partners can be challenging from the standpoint of marketing is so huge. And if
Yeah.
someone goes to a website designer, I'm curious if this is going to resonate with you. Someone goes to a website designer, gets a whole new website built. It's great. It was a huge expense. And then their likelihood of saying like, okay, you know what, now I need a marketing plan because just because I built this website doesn't mean that I'm going to get all the results I want from that. I didn't really think about the whole plan. And usually it ends up like, well, we already spent our whole budget on the website, so we have nothing left for a marketing strategy. So what I used to think like website developers will be a great referral partner, like it didn't really pan out.
Yeah. Yeah. You always need that plan first, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, because right, the type of work that you do is similar in a way, in that it's like you mentioned it earlier in this conversation. You're not trying to sell thousands of a course. You're trying to sell, big packages to smaller numbers of clients so that you can give them that level of service and that level of expertise that you provide.
Right. Absolutely. Partner. I'm less interested. I mean, we can do one-off projects for anybody, but really getting to know somebody's brand so that they can just like email us and call us up and say, hey, we need to put together, XYZ because we're going to a page because we're going to do this new promotion or that sort of thing. Page because we're going to do this new promotion or that sort of thing. So
one thing, I want to shift gears back to something that you said earlier because I had a couple directions I wanted to take the conversation. I wanted to make sure I remember to circle back, and I'm glad I did. You talked about repurposing content now in terms
yes,
of taking your LinkedIn post and turning it into email marketing, which I love. And I'm always telling especially my marketing support group members, I'm like, repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. Like people aren't paying as close attention as you think. And
right.
really people need to hear the same message multiple times in different ways to actually make it stick in their brains. So I absolutely love that you're doing that. So smart. And I'm curious what you if you have anything else to say on the topic of that repurposing. I just wanted to make sure I pulled that out for everyone listening.
Well, I think it took me a while on LinkedIn to and I'm still kind of playing with content a little bit, right? I think if you're just starting out, a really good idea is to just experiment. The course that I took,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, just experiment, look at the numbers, test, and do more of what people like. So that's what I'm trying to do. I had people respond. That's what I'm trying to do. I had people responded really well to a certain post that I did. So that
Yeah.
it's a little bit of trial and error still, but it's been working great because now I can just create that LinkedIn post. And right now for the rest of December, we're going to be doing